The story of Abraham, Hagar, and Ishmael is shared across Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, but each tradition tells it with unique emphasis. In Judaism, the story highlights family tensions and God's promises. Hagar and Ishmael are sent away after Isaac's birth, but God assures Abraham that Ishmael will also become a great nation. Christianity builds on this story, seeing it as a spiritual allegory. Paul interprets Hagar and Sarah as symbols of two covenants, the Old Covenant of the Law, Hagar, and the New Covenant of Grace, Sarah, with Isaac representing believers freed through faith. In Islam, the narrative focuses on obedience, faith, and divine mercy. Hagar and Ishmael's journey to the desert leads to the miracle of Zamzam. Their story becomes central to the Hajj pilgrimage, and Ishmael is honored as a prophet and ancestor of the Arabs. Despite differences, all three traditions uphold the story as a powerful example of faith, struggle, and God's providence. Judaism, the story from the Hebrew Bible. Abraham was a man chosen by God, and he was promised descendants as numerous as the stars. For many years, his wife Sarah could not bear children. In her desperation, she gave her maidservant Hagar to Abraham, and Hagar bore him a son, Ishmael. But then, the miraculous happened, Sarah gave birth to Isaac, the promised child. As the two boys grew, tension filled the household. One day, Sarah saw Ishmael mocking Isaac. Troubled and protective, she demanded that Abraham send Hagar and Ishmael away. This pained Abraham deeply, after all, Ishmael was his son. But God told Abraham to listen to Sarah and not be afraid, for Ishmael too would become a great nation. So, with a heavy heart, Abraham gave Hagar bread and water and sent her and Ishmael into the wilderness of Beersheba. Under the hot desert sun, the water soon ran out. Despairing, Hagar placed Ishmael under a bush and walked away, not wanting to see him die. But God heard the boy's cries. An angel called to Hagar, comforting her, "Do not fear. God has heard the boy." Then, God opened her eyes, and she saw a well. She gave the boy water, and he lived. Ishmael grew strong in the wilderness, became an archer, and lived in the land of Paran. Hagar found him a wife from Egypt, and he became the father of a great people. Christianity, the story and its deeper meaning. To Christians, the story is much the same as in Judaism. Hagar and Ishmael are sent away after Isaac is born, and God provides for them in the wilderness. But the Apostle Paul saw something deeper in their story. He taught that Hagar and Sarah represented two covenants. Hagar, the servant, stood for Mount Sinai and the Old Covenant of the Law, enslavement. Sarah, the free woman, symbolized the New Covenant, freedom through faith in Jesus Christ. Ishmael, born according to human plans, symbolized life under the law. Isaac, born by God's promise, symbolized life by grace. Paul's message: you, brothers and sisters, like Isaac, are children of promise. So do not live in slavery to the law. Thus, the story becomes more than a family drama, it becomes a picture of the human journey from bondage to spiritual freedom. Islam, the story is remembered in faith and ritual. In Islam, the story begins with a divine command. Abraham, the beloved prophet of God, was told to take his wife Hājar, Hagar, and their infant son Ishmael, to a barren desert valley, a land with no crops, no water, and no people. Without question, Abraham obeyed. At a place that would one day become Mecca, he left them with some dates and water and turned to leave. Hagar, shocked and desperate, called after him, "Are you leaving us here? Has God commanded you to do this?" When he nodded, she said with trust, "Then he will not forsake us." Soon, the water ran out. Baby Ishmael cried from thirst. Hagar, frantic, ran between the hills of Safa and Marwa, searching for help. She ran back and forth 7 times, her heart full of prayer and fear. Then, a miracle. At Ishmael's feet, water began to gush from the earth, the sacred spring of Zamzam. It was God's mercy. That lonely valley would become a place of life. Years later, Ishmael and Abraham would build the Kaaba, the house of worship for the one God. And to this day, Muslims reenact Hagar's desperate search for water during the Hajj pilgrimage. To Muslims, Hagar is a model of faith and courage. Ishmael is not only the ancestor of the Arabs but also a prophet. And Abraham's test becomes a story of trust, devotion, and divine care.